on the sidelines, maybe you're coaching clipboard there, or maybe your parent, just watching the game, passionate about it, and then you see it. That player who just cannot stand still, constantly fidgeting, maybe messing with the drills, or maybe the kid arguing every single call. The one testing everyone's patience. And then, there's the athlete who just shuts down. Face goes blank when things get tough, or they make a mistake. It's so easy, almost automatic, isn't it, to just label that, bad behavior, feel that frustration bubbling up. But what if? What if there's something else going on, a much deeper message under the surface? What if these aren't really struggles, but signals?
That's exactly it. That's the core idea we're really digging into today. What if, instead of reacting to what looks like misbehavior, we started seeing these moments as, signals, important signals.
Wow.
Now, this isn't about making excuses, or just letting kids off the hook for their actions. Not at all. It's about a really fundamental shift in how we think and moving away from that immediate, this kid, frustration, towards a place of genuine curiosity. What's really going on here? Think about it like your car's check engine light. The light itself isn't the problem, is it? It's a signal. Something under the hood needs attention, maybe low oil, maybe the gas cap's loose, whatever. Kids' behaviors, often they're just like that check engine light, pointing to something deeper.
I love that analogy, the check engine light, because it totally reframes how you approach it, doesn't it? You don't yell at the dashboard light, you investigate, you look under the hood. And today, that's what we're doing, a deep dive into the honestly profound insights from Julie Hatfield Still's work. It's called Signals, Not Struggles, Rethinking Athlete Behavior. Our mission here is to unpack the lessons that can really, truly reshape how we interact with young athletes, and maybe even how we understand behavior, more generally. So this deep dive, it's your shortcut to getting informed on this perspective. Maybe it even sparks something in how you handle tough moments yourself.
Absolutely. And Julie Hatfield Still's core insight, it's incredibly powerful. It really forms the foundation for everything else. She argues that children's actions almost always are communicating something much deeper than what we just see on the surface. Behavior, essentially, is often the tip of the iceberg. It's the outward expression of an unmet need. She has this great line, "Emotion is simply energy in motion." What she means is, when kids lack the mental tools or the words or maybe the emotional control to actually say what they're feeling, that energy, those big feelings, they have to go somewhere. They have to find an outlet. And often that outlet looks like what we call behavior. It comes out physically. Their actions literally become their language because, maybe their words aren't there yet, or they just don't feel safe enough to use them in that moment.
Right. That distinction behavior as communication, not just misbehavior, that feels absolutely critical. And what I find so compelling about Julie Hatfield Still's view, it's not just the idea itself, it's her credibility.
Yeah.
She's not just theorizing from, an ivory tower, which has its place, of course, but she's a coach. She's got, and I quote, thousands of hours on the field and in gyms. She's been in it. So her insights, they're forged in the real world, dealing with real kids day in, day out. That means practical strategies that actually have a chance of working, not just abstract concepts. She gets the sweat, the chaos, the wins, the losses.
It really does. It gives so much weight to what she's saying. And the biggest lesson she says she learned from all those hours, the real game changer. It sounds simple, but it's profound. Most kids don't want to be bad. They want to be seen, heard, and understood. Just letting that sink in, it changes everything, doesn't it? It shifts our whole approach to discipline, away from just punishment, just reacting, and towards guidance, towards connecting proactively, towards genuine understanding. We stop being firefighters, constantly putting out behavioral fires, and we start becoming, fire preventers, addressing the smoke before it becomes a blaze.
Okay, right. Let's unpack that a bit more. Just think for a second, you listening. What does this actually mean for you? Whether you're the coach drawing out plays, the parent on the sidelines, maybe a teacher, or honestly, just anyone interacting with young people. This perspective, it's not just for sports, is it? It's a lens, a really useful lens for understanding people, period.
Totally applicable everywhere. And to help us decode these signals, Julie Hatfield Still breaks down 6 key categories of unmet needs, the things that often bubble up as behavior in sports. Understanding these can be a real light bulb moment. First up, and maybe the most basic, are physical needs. Seems obvious, but we forget this one all the time in the rush. Think about it. A kid's been in school all day, maybe didn't eat much lunch, didn't sleep well, rushes to practice, no snack, and now we expect them to sit still, listen to complex instructions, perform difficult drills. So that restlessness, that sudden crankiness, even that completely over-the-top silliness, it's not always defiance. Often it's just their body yelling, I need a break, I need food, I need water, or just, I need to move after sitting all day. So as the adult, the first check is often, have they eaten, moved enough, are they genuinely exhausted? Before we jump to conclusions about their attitude.
Yeah, the HALT principle, right? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. So basic, yet so easy to miss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Second category, safety and security. This one's huge. If a child's life feels unpredictable, maybe there's stress at home, big changes happening, or if they feel emotionally unsafe within the team, maybe they got picked on, maybe they feel constantly criticized by a coach or teammate, they might lash out or shut down completely or try to control everything around them in ways that look like defiance. They're basically putting up walls or fighting for stability because their world, or just this little world of the team, feels unsafe. They need predictability. They need to know it's okay to be them.
That makes sense. Seeking safety in ways that look disruptive.
Third, and this is universal, is the need for connection and belonging. We all need it, but for kids, it's like oxygen. They need to feel seen, accepted, part of the group. If they don't get that connection in positive ways, through encouragement, being included, just simple acknowledgement, they'll often seek it out in negative ways, acting out, being the class clown, deliberately breaking a rule. It can all be a bid for attention, any attention. It's like they're shouting, hey, look at me, I'm here. It might be negative attention, but it's still attention.
The classic any attention is good attention when you're feeling invisible.
Yeah. Fourth is autonomy and competence. Especially as kids get older, they need to feel like they have some say, some control, and they need to feel like they can do things, that they're capable when those needs aren't met. When they feel totally controlled or like they just can't get anything right, that's when you might see outright refusal, arguing back, or even intense perfectionism. They might refuse a drill because they're terrified of failing at it. They might argue because it's the only way they feel their voice gets heard. And perfectionism, often that's rooted in a deep fear of not being good enough, a constant need to prove they're competent.
Wow, even perfectionism as a signal of an unmet need. That's counterintuitive, but makes so much sense.
Right. Fifth is recognition and encouragement. This is vital fuel for kids. If they feel unseen, if the feedback is always corrective, always pointing out flaws, without genuine praise for effort or small wins, they might just withdraw or rebel or just stop trying. Why bother, they might think. They need to know their effort matters, that their presence is valued, that they're seen for who they are, not just what they produce on the field.
Yeah, catching them doing something good, not just something wrong.
Exactly. And finally, number 6, emotional expression. This is a big one. Kids, especially younger ones, don't always have the tools yet to handle big, messy feelings, frustration, disappointment, anger, sadness. So without those tools, the emotions come out. Well, sideways, tantrums, explosive outbursts, maybe just running away or avoiding the situation altogether. They literally don't know another way to process what's happening inside them, so it spills out as what looks like disruptive behavior.
Wow, okay. Laying out those 6 categories like that: physical, safety, connection, autonomy, competence, recognition, and emotional expression. It's like getting a decoder ring. It makes the complexity feel, well, maybe not simple, but understandable. It gives you somewhere to start your detective work. So the next logical question then is, how does this look different at different ages? Because like you said, a check engine light on a 9-year-old's dashboard probably flashes differently than on a 17-year-old's, right? How do the signals change, and how do we need to adapt?
That's the crucial next layer, absolutely. Because you just can't use a one-size-fits-all approach here. It won't work. Behavior looks different because the prevailing needs shift as kids develop. Their developmental stage really drives what's most important to them. Julie Hatfield still breaks this down really nicely. Let's start with the little ones, say 10U, under 10's elementary age. Their world is still very concrete, What's most important? Things like needing to move their bodies, predictable routines, sudden changes can throw them off balance, lots and lots of positive attention, encouragement, and feeling really safe, physically and emotionally safe. So how does an unmet need show up here? Well, you see tons of restlessness, right? Silliness that can feel almost chaotic sometimes, difficulty sitting still for instructions, big emotional meltdowns when things don't go their way or they get overwhelmed. They haven't really developed that internal pause button yet.
Oh, yeah, the constant motion machine.
Totally. So here's a great example from the book. You've got a 9-year-old constantly interrupting drills, making jokes, silly noises. Our first instinct. Probably, hey, focus up, or be quiet, label them disruptive. But using this framework, the coach sees it differently. Maybe it's a need for connection, a bid for positive attention. Maybe they're bored or confused by the drill, so a smart response, a proactive one. Redirect that energy. Give them a positive role. Like, hey, Liam, you know what? You're going to be my demo partner for this next drill. Need your laser focus right now to show everyone how it's done. Boom. You give them a moment of belonging, you channel that need for attention productively, and you bring them right back into the task. It's quick, it's empathetic.
Oh, I love that. The demo partner move. I've seen that interrupting joker a million times. You always think, just pay attention. But framing it as maybe a need for connection, that changes everything. It feels way more empowering for both the coach and the kid.
It absolutely is. Okay, moving up. 14U, under 14s, middle school age. This is often that tricky identity testing phase, right? Everything feels bigger, more intense. They're pushing for independence, but also desperately want peer acceptance. They're constantly comparing themselves. Their brains are kind of wired for more risk-taking, and their emotions can feel huge, often bigger than their ability to manage them just yet. So, prevailing needs here. Big ones are autonomy, wanting choice, wanting a say. Peer acceptance is massive, feeling competent, and crucially, needing reassurance that it's safe to make mistakes, that failure isn't the end of the world. So, behaviorally, you might see more backtalk, testing limits quite deliberately. Perfectionism can spike here, especially if they fear peer judgment. You might see them withdraw quickly if they get embarrassed, or be, overly dramatic about things. They're figuring out who they are and where they fit.
The drama years. Got it.
Pretty much. So the book gives this scenario. A 13-year-old flat out refuses to run a conditioning drill. Arms crossed, arguing loudly, right in front of everyone. The old school response might be a power struggle, yelling matches, which, let's be honest, rarely ends well. Instead, the coach pauses, recognizes the likely need for autonomy bubbling up, and offers a limited choice. Something like, look, this conditioning needs to get done. You can choose. Run with your group now, or run right after practice with me. Your pick. But it's happening. See that? It meets their need for autonomy by giving them some control over while still holding the firm boundary that the task will be done. It respects their need for a voice.
That's brilliant. It's not caving, it's channeling.
Yeah.
You acknowledge their need for control, but within the necessary structure. Very smart.
Exactly. Okay, finally, let's look at 18. Under 18s, high school age. These teens are juggling a lot more. Academics, social pressures, maybe college recruiting stress, figuring out their identity separate from their sport. It's complex. Performance pressure can be immense here. They're much more aware of expectations, and they can internalize stress really heavily. The need for belonging is still there, but now it's mixed with a need for respect, for being seen as emerging adults. So, prevailing needs. Deep emotional safety is critical. Consistent encouragement, not just praise, but real encouragement. Recognition for their effort, not just the wins or stats. Support in untangling their self-worth from their athletic performance. It's huge at this age. And often, they're ready for real leadership opportunities. Behaviorally, how might unmet needs show up? Sometimes it's shutting down, becoming totally disengaged after a mistake, acting too cool for school or indifferent, often as a mask for feeling overwhelmed or insecure, withdrawing. They might internalize failure much more deeply than younger kids, which can look like apathy from the outside.
Right, the protective shell goes up.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So consider this example. A 17-year-old player misses a crucial shot in a game, and for the rest of practice, they're just gone. Shoulders slumped, avoiding eye contact, not engaging. Instead of criticizing their focus or apparent lack of effort, the coach remembers the need for emotional safety and reassurance. They might approach quietly, maybe after practice, and say something empathetic like, hey, that was a tough miss, but listen, one play doesn't define you. Not for me, not for this team. I trust you completely, and I want you taking that shot again next time.
Meeting that need for reassurance, affirming their value beyond that single mistake, reminding them they belong. That can be incredibly powerful in reigniting their confidence and engagement.
Wow. These examples across the ages, they really drive it home, don't they? The power of looking past the behavior to the need. It feels like a practical guide, not just for coaches, but really for any adult trying to support young people. It shifts the whole dynamic from judgment to genuine support. Okay, so acknowledging all this is one thing, but let's be real. In the heat of the moment, adrenaline's pumping, maybe you're frustrated, the game's on the line, it can still be incredibly difficult to pause and apply these insights, right? So what does this mean for our immediate actions? When we're right there, faced with that challenging behavior, how do we actually start doing this, cultivating this responsive approach?
You're absolutely right. It's not an instant switch. It takes conscious practice. It's a skill that develops over time. And the author, Julie Hatfield Still, makes a key point. This skill often begins with reflection, after the fact. You might not catch the clue, the signal, right away, especially when things are intense mid-game, tense practice, heated moment. That's okay. But afterward, when things have calmed down, you can intentionally pause. Think back on that interaction. Ask yourself, okay, what was that behavior really about? What might that athlete have actually needed from me in that moment that maybe I missed? Maybe, for example, you had a player who was being super silly and disruptive during drills. You just told them to knock it off. Later, you reflect. Actually, they were really quiet during warm-ups, and that drill was new and kind of complex. Maybe this silliness wasn't just defiance. Maybe they felt insecure about the drill. Maybe the clowning around was a weird bid for connection or a way to deflect from feeling anxious about failing. And from that reflection, you can then make a mental plan. Okay, next time I see that pattern, next time we do that drill, maybe I'll check in differently first. Or maybe you even circle back later and address it. Over time, the more you practice that pause, reflect, plan cycle, the faster you get. It starts to become more second nature. You get better at seeing past the surface behavior and responding to the need more quickly, sometimes even in real time.
That makes so much sense. Because in the moment, yeah, our own emotions, frustration, pressure can totally hijack our response. So reflection is like training your empathy muscle after the workout. And it sounds like Julie Hatfield still gives us a tool to help with that, like a cheat sheet for that detective work when we're reflecting or even trying to decode in the moment.
She absolutely does, and it's incredibly helpful for speeding up that recognition process. She provides a really practical, quick reference behavior ENI table. It's like a shorthand guide for decoding those common signals. Super valuable. For instance, she links typical behaviors to likely underlying needs. So if you see an athlete who is restless, fidgety, can't seem to focus, the likely signal is a need for movement or a physical break. Their body needs something simple, right? If they're being defiant, arguing, really pushing back, that often points to a need for autonomy, choice, or just feeling heard and respected. They feel powerless or ignored.
Okay.
If an athlete is shutting down, withdrawing, getting really quiet, the signal might be a need for emotional safety or specific encouragement. They might feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid to fail. That clowning around, the constant attention seeking, usually signals a need for connection and belonging. They're trying to find their place, get noticed. And finally, that perfectionism or the I can't do it attitude often signals a need for reassurance about their competence and critically needing a safe space to fail without judgment. They're scared of not being perfect.
That quick reference list is gold. Seriously, it's like having diagnostic codes for behavior. It gives anyone, coach, parent, teacher, a starting point when they're just trying to figure out, okay, what is really going on here? It's a cheat sheet for empathy.
It really is. And when we start approaching behavior with that kind of curiosity, that desire to understand, instead of just reacting with frustration or judgment, we automatically start looking deeper. And that shift, it helps create stronger, much more supportive environments. Environments where kids feel safer, more connected, more capable, and where they can genuinely thrive, not just in sports, but, in life. And just to be super clear again, this approach doesn't mean no boundaries, no rules, no expectations, not at all. It means setting those necessary boundaries, holding those high expectations, but doing it with empathy, with understanding of what that child might be experiencing. Because when kids feel fundamentally safe, connected, and capable, when their core needs are being met, their behavior naturally tends to follow in a more positive direction. They want to meet expectations when they feel supported. We're building self-regulation from the inside out, not just enforcing compliance from the outside in.
That's such a powerful distinction. Building self-regulation, not just demanding compliance. That feels like the core of it. It really transforms the whole adult-child dynamic, doesn't it, from adversarial to collaborative. And it really drives home the challenge the author puts out there. Next time a child acts out, pause and ask, what need is behind this? And then you may be surprised at how quickly the behavior shifts once the need is met. That's a call to action, a really transformative way to engage. So let's just quickly recap this deep dive then. The big takeaway seems to be this: shifting our view, moving away from judging bad behavior on the surface and towards understanding the signals of unmet needs underneath. That shift isn't just a small tweak. It feels like a genuine paradigm shift in how we connect with young athletes and really with all young people. It's about seeing the whole person.
Exactly. It underlines the truly transformative power of this perspective. And it's not just transformative for the kids we're guiding, right? It's transformative for us. It helps us grow as more empathetic observers, better communicators, more effective leaders. It really elevates our ability to create environments where everyone, including ourselves, can actually flourish. It's about building connection, building understanding, not just managing behavior.
Building bridges, not walls. I like that. And Julie Hatfield still offers this thought. Sometimes coaching is experiential. Let this be an experiment you try this season. So here's the final thought for you, our listener, to maybe mull over. How might Practicing this kind of observation, this curiosity in the world of youth sports, how might that also help you decode the unmet needs behind challenging behaviors you see elsewhere? Maybe in colleagues at work who seem stressed or difficult, friends who pull away. Maybe even within yourself when you react strongly to something. Could understanding signals and needs be a skill that stretches far beyond the sidelines into basically every corner of human connection? Something to think about.